Coming up on In Your Neighborhood, we focus on two siblings who are living the dream at their current jobs. One at NASA in Florida, and the other commuting to NYC to work with the FDNY.
Service Electric Cablevision knows the internet is evolving, taking new twists and turns. As we add our input, make our choices, and follow the light that connects us all. It's quite a journey, one to experience with the fastest speeds available. Contact Service Electric and connect to the internet speed that suits your journey. And enjoy the ride.
There are a lot of avenues you can take to market your business, but one easy choice to make. The SECV8 Community Bulletin Board is an inexpensive way for you to get directly into the homes of the potential customers you want to reach. The Community Bulletin Board costs $6 a day and can reach up to 54,000 households. You can find out more by heading to secv8.com.
The doctor comes up to me, he said, "You're 38 weeks pregnant and having a baby today." Today.
New series.
I went into the hospital and I came out with a whole baby.
1 in 2,500 women don't know that they're pregnant until they give birth.
My baby is having a baby? That's crazy!
I wasn't expecting a baby. New episodes Thursdays at 10, only on Lifetime.
Is there anything out here with me right now? Are you still going? Oh my God.
Oh, I'm seeing on camera.
Oh my God, Phil, there's somebody out here with me. Phil, come here. Come here now. Ah!
Welcome to In Your Neighborhood. I'm your host, Chris O'Rourke, and we have a first for you. For the first time, we will have an episode dealing with two siblings that have very unique, very interesting jobs. One is a firefighter, not here, but in a place very famous for its firefighting department. The second works down in Florida at another very famous place, and we're going to start with her. NASA deluged the mobile launch platform for the Artemis II rocket with over 400,000 gallons of water as part of a test back in October. What's the connection to our area, you may ask? Well, watching the test was Danville native Alessa Makuch. The 2007 Danville grad has been working at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida for 6 months now, as part of testing and launch operations for the Artemis moon missions. The goal is to eventually establish a colony on the moon that could become a leaping point for further exploration into space, including a trip to Mars. Right now, though, Artemis II is the focus, and it will take a crew of 4 for a trip around the moon.
That's what we're planning towards, and there's some lessons learned from Artemis 1 that we're incorporating, and then as far as this is going to be a crewed launch, so there's a lot of things that have to be updated for the crew, for the life support systems, out at the pad, had to install a emergency egress system for the crew just in case. So that has to be installed, it has to be tested, and you have to have all the procedures and plans for when it's going to be used, how it's going to be used. So that's kind of all the things that we're working through, just one portion of the things that we're working through right now.
This has been Makuch's dream job since she went to space camp here at the age of 10. While she was at Danville High School in the early to mid-aughts, she not only focused on college prep courses, but also on the school's Career Paths program as well, adding industrial engineering and drafting to her courses with an eye toward the future. Following graduation in 2007, she went on to Penn State and their Aeronautical Engineering School on an Air Force ROTC scholarship.
So when I graduated, I went straight into the Air Force. They kind of classify all engineers in the same category, and they send you where the Air Force needs you. So I was lucky enough to get some pretty cool hands-on experiences throughout my assignments in the Air Force. I worked in the Air Force Research Laboratory, so I got to do a little bit of R&D stuff. And then I moved into the Air Force Operational Test and Evaluation Center, so I got to kind of move to the other end of the spectrum and work in operational tests. That was kind of my first kind of experience there, and really kind of fell in love with there's like a whole science of tests and designing these things. But I was working still in aircraft and air armament systems. But my final assignment was out at Vandenberg Air Force Base with the Space Launch Squadron. So that was my first, I finally got the assignment in a space job, and really just fell in love with launch and launch operations and just kind of being there and all the processing and stuff that goes into it. And that's kind of when I decided, like, this is the area that I want to stay in.
That meant ensuring that the launches involving national security and government-owned payloads were going off without a hitch. From there, she came back to the East Coast to Cape Canaveral Air Force Station back in 2019, taking on a contractor job doing what she had been doing for the Air Force, mission assurance and vehicle certification on government launches. But with all contracting positions, there is always a time limit, and then you have to decide what's next.
And there was a job opportunity at NASA, and I was like, you don't know if you don't try. So kind of put in for it, not expecting, see if anything comes back, and got an interview and got the job offer, and it was kind of like right up my alley. So as far as in testing and launch, so it was pretty surreal experience, but very exciting. Like I said, you kind of have these opportunities, and you just sort of have to jump on them when they come around.
Makuch says the first drive into work was equally surreal because her office is in the Launch Control Center, which is right next to the Vehicle Assembly Building, an area steeped in history. She told us that she had been on the visitor center tour driving through as a tourist, and now she's walking through them as an employee. But here's the thing. While Alessa has always been interested in aviation, she's not a pilot. She never had a dream of being a pilot. So while watching movies like Apollo 13, she thought the cool jobs were back in mission control, with the teams that were working to solve problems. So now she is playing a role in getting America to the next frontier in space.
Our area at Kennedy Space Center is the exploration ground system. So this is kind of where all the pieces come together. So there's the Space Launch System, which is the launch vehicle, and then the Orion capsule, which is the spacecraft. And all that flight hardware comes to KSC, and the vehicle gets stacked, and it gets integrated with all the ground systems, rolled out to the pad, and launched from here. So I work as a NASA test director. So we're the test management we have kind of three different pieces. We have the testing, everything that has to be checked out as you're leading up to launch. And then making sure like all the people and the parts and the paper all kind of come together for that launch countdown. And we're directly supporting the launch director on that day. And then the last piece is the landing and recovery. So once those astronauts are coming home, We got to recover the astronaut safely. We got to recover the capsule. And so that's what I'm training for right now, is to be part of that landing and recovery team.
I was excited hearing all about this, not just from an interest in space or seeing my tax dollars going to work in such a positive manner, but also from the perspective of a Danville resident, and thinking about the fact that someone who went to school 5 minutes from where I live is now down at NASA, helping to advance us toward the future of space travel. Alessa tells us she pinches herself every day that she gets to work at a place that challenges her to bring her A game. She's currently in the middle of training to get the proper certifications for her position.
Hopefully it can inspire, young kids just like I was, that it doesn't matter where you come from. You can follow your dream and make it to where you want to be.
Alessa tells us that the Artemis 2 rocket is scheduled to launch in 2025. She, of course, would love to stay at NASA for Artemis 3, 4, 5, and beyond.
And when we come back, we'll introduce you to my brother, Andrew.
Hello everybody, I'm Carl Bauer. Join me as we sit down with some local sports legends of the past. From state champions to gold medalists, we catch up and find out whatever happened to those fantastic local athletes. Join me every Monday at 2 and 6 p.m. for Catching Up with Carl, only on Service Electric Cablevision, channel 508 HD.
The greatest culinary competition is back.
I'm a game changer.
32 world-class chefs, including all 4 returning champions. Seasoned pros, hungry rookies. Let's go! Are you ready for it? Welcome to Tournament of Champions 5.
All new Sunday night at 8 on Food Network.
Tuesdays on ID.
We don't know what type of threat we're walking into.
Deputy down! I knew I'd been shot. This is how it ends.
Oh my God, my car is like
You just don't know what's gonna happen.
Body Cam. All new Tuesdays at 9 on ID.
You work with your best friends, you're hanging out with them all day. Cooking is a big part of your day at the firehouse. Everyone helps out. Sometimes you gather around, you're watching TV together, you're joking around with each other. It's a blast. I like to say it's like working in a frat house, but
it can be stressful.
It can be, yeah. So that's why the fun aspect helps. It helps you, deal with that stress.
Andrew Makuch talks about his 10 years of work with the New York City Fire Department. It's a dream come true for him, working for the second largest fire department in the world with over 16,000 employees. And while Andrew's living the dream now, the long road to get there began here at the East End Fire Department in Mahoning Township. Even though he can't fight fires for this department, Makuch still stops by for trainings and considers it to be his quote-unquote home department. He began here as a junior firefighter.
I was in high school and a friend of mine was doing the junior firefighter program at East End here, and he said, hey, you should come try this out. And I thought, hey, why not? I never had heard of it. It had never really crossed my mind. I was like, this could be a cool thing to do, especially for a 14, 15-year-old, learn something, help your community, and I just got hooked as soon as from the first meeting on. It was something that I knew I really liked doing. It didn't cross my mind to turn it into a career until later on when I was looking about getting out of the military, but it definitely helped doing it that early, planting the seed that early, and then when I was looking for options to do after the military, I thought, why not try and become a paid firefighter?
Andrew says his goal has always been to work for the best fire department in the world, and his time at East End certainly helped him to achieve that goal. He learned a lot while here, first as a junior firefighter, and then when he hit the age of 18, he was able to move to full interior firefighting, along with all other aspects he trained for as a junior. Makuch actually wasn't at East End for long, as he enlisted in the Air Force during his junior year of high school and began 7 years in the military after graduation from Danville in 2005. Andrew's job title was military police, and it led to tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, as well as West Africa. He calls his time in the military fun and fast-paced. It was when he left the Air Force in 2012 that he decided to call on his training as both a junior and regular firefighter to try to work for the FDNY.
There was a hiring freeze before that, so this is the first test they're offering in a couple years. I took the test, I scored well, and then between that, doing it's called a CPAT, it's a physical fitness test, doing the medical tests, they have a psych evaluation that they do, and waiting for my list number to be called, because with every civil service thing, you get put on a list and they go down that depending on how you scored. I got on in December of 2014 was when I started. Wow. So it was a little over 2 years.
Makuch was assigned to Ladder 156 in Brooklyn, and he has been there ever since. Initially, he lived in Staten Island, and being closer to the station made it easier to pick up overtime, as you don't get paid a lot of money starting out as a New York City firefighter. His first official day was December 29th of 2014, when he began at their academy, which he said was nerve-wracking, although a lot like boot camp, which he fortunately was used to from his time in the Air Force. His first call came on his very first day in May of 2015.
It was a fire in a small semi-attached house on the second floor, just one room, but it was a good job to learn and go through the motions.
So how many calls would you say you get a day in New York City?
A slow day, you'll get 5, 6, 7 calls in a 24-hour period. Busy day, you could be on the rig all day long. I think the busiest day we ever had was I did 40 calls in a 24-hour, and a lot of them are easy, simple things. If an alarm goes off because somebody burnt toast or they think they smell gas, things like that. They're not all major incidents, but an average day, you're probably doing 10 to 15 calls.
In an effort to develop a more well-rounded firefighter, the department assigns different positions each shift. Ladder trucks are responsible for search and rescue at a fire, and then work in concert with the engine to put out the blaze. Andrew has done everything from climb the ladder to get up onto the roof of the burning structure to driving the truck through the heart of New York City, something he says is extremely stressful. The so-called chauffeur has to have his A game the whole time, while hoping for the best with the legendary Big Apple traffic.
Do you know or can you remember any really interesting jobs you've had, or was there ever a really call where you said, wow, that was really something?
There's a few. I mean, after a while, a lot of them start to bleed together, but there's some that stand out. There was one with a individual fell onto the subway tracks on an elevated platform, and the train had gone over him and pinned his leg. And we were able to get a tourniquet on him and lift the train up enough to get it out, and he survived that. There's some bad ones there, where people didn't survive fires, that those kind of stick with you sometimes. And then there's funny ones where like a cat getting stuck inside the grill of a car that the family will flag us down while we're driving by. And normally we don't deal with animal issues, but when you're flagged down on the street, you sort of have to stop. And we like to help out too. So trying to coax this cat out, or kids getting their fingers and hands stuck in weird places.
So after 4 years of living in the city, Makuch's 2 kids were about to start school. And that's when he thought of home, where housing is more affordable and the school district is great. He moved his family back to Danville and began making the drive to New York City twice a week to work a 24-hour shift. He gets up at 4:30 in the morning to make the 2.5 to 3 hour drive into Brooklyn to his station. It does afford him some extra time to get a coffee if he needs it. Makuch says he enjoys the silence of the drive because he knows his next 24 hours are going to be anything but silent. His shift starts at 8, and it usually doesn't offer him a lot of time to sleep, so the car ride back to Danville can be a little rough at times. He does enjoy the freedom of the remainder of his week to get a lot of work done around here. He also can put in overtime sometimes, either tied to his shift or driving back into the city for a day. While normal retirement for a New York City firefighter is 25 years, Andrew may be able to take a medical retirement in 2 years after severely injuring his back on the job. Returning to Danville full-time could allow him to spend a little more time on a project he's helping with in the Danville School District, recruiting the next generation of firefighters.
Eric France just started a group within Danville High School Fire Club to try and get more junior firefighters, more high school age kids, the 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, involved in the fire department, because we're starting to face a volunteer shortage in the area and all over the place. The average age of the volunteer firefighter in our area right now is 45. And once you start getting up there, it doesn't matter how much you like it or want to keep doing it, your body eventually just starts to break down and says, we can't do this anymore. So you have to step back and take smaller roles, and we need a new generation of younger individuals to step up and join, to start taking the reins. And that's why we're trying to get more kids involved at the high school.
Andrew says that while they fight different types of fires in New York City than what volunteers battle here, the training and tools are essentially the same. And that you can rest easy knowing that we're fortunate to live in an area that has a lot of firehouses with men and women who are very capable of handling any emergency that may occur here. Andrew tells us that his schedule varies for the 2 days he has to go into New York City during the week, but that he especially likes Sundays. Well, if you have a story idea or a segment idea for us, you can email us at IYN@SECV8.com or stop by our Facebook page. And that's going to do it for us. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again next time, maybe from in your neighborhood.